Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Curated Nest podcast. Today I'm talking to interior designer Kim Heslip, and we chat about how music and memories connect, the difference between creating a home and staging a home to sell, feeling called back to where you grew up, starting with decorating from the features and the collected items that you have, and the story that fits around your home. So grab a cup of tea and enjoy the chat. Hello and welcome back to the Curated Nest podcast. Today I have Kim Heslip with me. Kim is the founder of Nest and Flourish Interiors, a Yorkshire-based design studio specialising in inclusive, accessible environments that enhance well-being, dignity and independence. After a 20-year career in nursing, 15 of those as a community nurse, she saw firsthand how thoughtfully designed spaces can transform physical and mental health. This insight led her to retrain at the National Design Academy and bring a clinically informed perspective to interior design. Today, Kim works with clients across Yorkshire and Greater Manchester to create homes, workplaces, and community settings that support people of all ages, abilities, and neurodiverse needs. Blending healthcare expertise with creative design, she crafts spaces that are not only beautiful, but deeply functional, personalised, and empowering. Through Nest and Flourish Interiors, Kim is redefining what inclusive design can look and feel like, proving that purposeful spaces can be stylish, supportive, and for everyone. Welcome along, Kim.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Obviously, as you've just heard, I did have a lengthy career as a nurse in the NHS, and I've now made that transition into interior design. But aside from that, I'm a mum. I have 4 children. I'm married. We have a very lively Labrador as well. So I always say to people, I do not have the pristine, beautifully designed interior designer's house that you might imagine. I know about the chaos, I know about the mess, I know about the rooms that you'll want to get round to getting done. So nobody needs to have any airs and graces or any kind of sort of embarrassment about what their home might look like when I come to see them. What else about me? I live in Yorkshire. I'm originally from Southport over in Merseyside, but I've lived here near Leeds since about the year 2000. When I'm not working, I'm usually out with the dog, walking in the countryside. I love going to the coast, being from Southport, coastal girl at heart. I love art. I love beautiful architecture. I love going to like National Trust and all those sorts of places.
Yeah, I think when you see like the Instagram accounts of interior designers online and you see, like you say, these pristine spaces, the thought of bringing someone into your home to see the sort of the chaos before you transform it is quite intimidating, isn't it? But it's really nice that you are totally honest with people, and also that they know that you get that real life is not like a show home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, firstly, it's really important from a designer's perspective to see the real situation. I don't want to see your tidied up, pristine home. I need to see where you have issues with clutter because that helps inform how we need the space to be, what kind of level of storage we need, where there might be bottlenecks in the home, where things aren't quite working properly. So it's all part of the function of a home is to see how people actually live in it and what the problems are. So it is really important to just give any designer that you employ to come and work on your home. It's really important that you give them the truth, the real picture, and not some sort of rose tinted glasses version of it. But equally, yeah, I mean, a home is about the people that live in it. It's about the life that goes on in it. It's not about having a beautiful, pristine place. If that's what you like, then that's great. But, most of us are a bit more relaxed and we like it to look nice and feel nice, but we also want to be able to relax and put things down and sort of not feel like we have to constantly be keeping it tidy. It's real life, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. You don't want to feel on edge in your own home, do you? It needs to be a space that you can live in and relax in. Otherwise, what's the point? We are jumping in, and we'd love to know what is your favorite thing about your home?
I think I love where we live. We live in a small village. We're not like really rural and remote. We have got small towns and amenities close by, but having access to open countryside within a few minutes walk from my home is really, I feel really lucky. Especially in lockdown when we couldn't go out, I felt so lucky and really got this new appreciation of where we live, having access to the countryside, and thinking about all those people that didn't have that at that time. And people, I felt so blessed to have a garden and have our own outdoor space. And so, yeah, I'm no gardener, but I love the fact that we have a garden. I love the fact that we've got open countryside nearby. But in terms of the actual interiors of the house, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. It is definitely a renovation project, but one of the rooms that I have done that is really kind of a space for me is the ensuite bathroom to our master bedroom. It's a room that we tackled a couple of years ago, and we completely transformed it, and I made it into Mum's sanctuary. It was quite a generously proportioned room, but it only had a shower in there previously, and we've managed to get a nice freestanding bath in there under a skylight, so I can sit in the bath and look at the stars. And yeah, that is just a real place where I can shut the door, lock the door, and just escape and relax. And it's just really calm and yeah, just a real place of feeling quite luxurious.
That sounds really beautiful. One thing that I desperately, desperately want for this house is to redo the bathroom because it's one of those situations where you can be in the bath and sit at the tap end, or you can sit underneath the shower and get dripped on. There's no real like relaxation in the bath. So that's definitely on my list to do, but I'm not sure we'd manage a skylight at the same time. That sounds absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean
Very
that.
boutique hotel.
Yeah, that was there beforehand because because of the shape of the roof, so it's always had the skylight there. And previously, it was just a skylight over a dead space, and the sink was moved much further over into the room, and I just thought if I move that sink over a bit, I think I could fit a bath in there. Um, head so head height. I mean, I'm only just over 5 foot, so I can stand in the bath and I'm fine. Somebody who was a foot taller than me might struggle, but when I sort of looked into it and I spoke to the bathroom fitter and I was like, "What do you think about putting a bath here?" And he went, "Well, you don't stand up in the bath. It's we've got a shower, so you don't need to stand up and shower in it." So yeah, we've just kind of squeezed it in, but it doesn't look squeezed in. It fits in the space beautifully. But yeah, it was just sometimes you just have a brainwave and you're just like, oh, I know what we need. We need a bath under that skylight. So
Yeah, some things were just meant to be. And if it's you that mainly uses that space anyway, it totally makes sense to design it with you in mind and not sort of
yeah,
worry about taller people that might.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that when um when you design a home, in contrast to if you do commercial interiors or public spaces, then there's all kinds of building regulations and things that are in place to make places inclusive and make them safe and everything. And you've got a lot more free reign in your own home. And I really do believe that you should make it yours. And without being ridiculous and squeezing things in, you have to, I guess, have a little bit of thinking about the future and if you were going to sell the property and not to do anything that would really put off a potential buyer. But at the end of the day, it's your house. And so it's got to be how you live in it. So yeah, if you're on the shorter side like me and you don't need loads of head height to have a beautiful bath, then absolutely go for it.
I've never really understood the people who comment on all these influencers saying, "Oh, you've totally um, halved the resale value of your home by painting it that color or whatever." Because when you decorate, well, for me, when I decorate a home, I'm not thinking about who's going to live in it after me because it's my home. I'm creating a space that works for me, for my family, and for whoever we want to invite into it, not for, you know, whoever in so many years wants to walk in and buy
Yeah.
it.
If it came to it, you could always redecorate when it comes to set, if you were like, I'm going to sell the house, and if you felt that certain rooms were a bit too much, you could tone it down and stage the property. There's a difference between there's lots of people that and some designers that do staging. They stage show homes, and it's about looking at aspirational things and tapping into the sort of people's hopes and dreams and desires of how they might want to live. It's completely different to designing a real space for real people to live in. And so, yeah, your home should always be a reflection of you. And yeah, absolutely don't worry. Certainly when it comes to colour choices and furniture, don't worry about what anybody else thinks. It's got to be right for you. And yeah, if you come to sell your home in the future, then you know you may need to have a little rethink if things are taking a time to sell. But it's while it's while it's your home and you're not planning on selling it, then why on earth would you not have it exactly how you want it?
With that in mind, the next question is, what do you think turns a house into a home? And like, how did you transform the house that you're in to create the homely feel rather than just, a box that used to belong to someone else?
I think it's really important to have your own things in there. So I think that I could design a beautiful room, but if it doesn't have anybody's personal items in there, then it could just feel like a hotel room. So I think what makes a house a home is the people that's in it, and it's all those little bits and pieces, personal items. It might be souvenirs from places you've been, family photographs, artwork that you've maybe purchased that has a special meaning to you, or that you may have created, or somebody else might have created. I think it's all of those items that are uniquely yours and tell the story of the people that live in the house. That's really what makes a home for me. Otherwise, it's just like a generic space.
You could cut and paste it from a magazine and, but it doesn't have that sense of your soul, does it, until you put those pieces in.
Yeah. And usually when I design, there's quite often something that people have got that is the starting point for that. So I've designed spaces around a lovely piece of furniture that we knew was staying, and so that was the starting point, and the design kind of builds out from there. I've done the same with artwork, or sometimes with like beautiful period features in the home as well. There was one space I designed that had lovely stained glass in the windows. So that was the starting point. So yeah, it's usually nice to take something that's personal to them that they really love, and then that gives you a flavour of their style and taste as well. But it also, if you start to build the design out from there and use that as the starting point, then it does create a much more personal space that really celebrates something treasured of theirs. So we use that as a starting point for the design, and then build everything out from there. So that influences the other style of items in there, the color scheme, and we create a space that's really centered around something that they really love, that really celebrates that piece of art or that piece of furniture or that lovely feature. So it just creates a much more personal space, um, just much more attuned to who they are. When I look around my home, there's items that they're just, completely worthless, like a funny shaped pebble we found on the beach or something like that. But it's you see it there and it reminds you of like, oh, I remember that day when we found that funny pebble. And so yeah, it's all those little things that often they're just you know, not really necessarily worth any monetary value, but they just hold special memories for people.
So, do you have a favourite accessory or a favourite piece of art in your home that is particularly significant to you?
Um, there's a few bits and pieces. I've got a few little quirky additions around the place. We've got a fossilized fish. That's quite. My husband really likes fossils, and so for his, I think we went down to London and we went into Harrods. This is quite several years ago, and they had a department in Harrods where they sold these fossils, like huge big slabs with like a whole group of fish swimming that had all been fossilized, and they were worth thousands and thousands of pounds. And I remember being in there with him and going, "Wow, these are great," and he absolutely loved them. So for his, I think it was his 30th birthday, so a few years ago now. Um, I got him a fossilized fish. So it's about A4 size, but it's a 55 million year old fossilized fish. So we have that. That's quite quirky and quite fun. And it's special to us because obviously it was his 30th birthday present, but also it came from that trip to London and seeing all those fossils in Harrods that day. Um, and then, yeah, I've got a few other things. I've got an Avon soap dish, which is next to my beautiful bath, and I've had it all my life. I've had it since my childhood. It's like a hippo's mouth, and you open it up and the soap goes inside. So it's like a vintage retro Avon soap dish, and it's been with me in every house I've ever lived in. And yeah, it will stay with me forever.
That's so kitsch. That I love that. I think it's really nice when, like you say, things travel with you as well to different houses, like whether it's come to university with you or like, there's things that I've had that have come to uni and then to our first flat and now it's in this home. So it kind of like, yeah, it builds those memories with you and it connects to all of those things that you did in those places, doesn't it?
Mm.
Um, so the longer you have it, the more meaning it has behind it, even if it's something as simple as a soap dish. Yeah, your bathroom sounds fabulous. The next question is, what's your favorite room? Would it be your ensuite bathroom, or it could be one from a past home that you've lived in? It doesn't have to be from right now.
Ooh. I think at the moment it's probably the ensuite bathroom, but I think there's some other really lovely rooms in the house that, in my mind's eye, I know how they're going to look one day, and I think they've got the potential. We've got this small room. Well, it's not that small, but it's like a small sitting room at the front of our house, and it gets the sun in, and it needs a bit of work. But yeah, I think if I can create the vision that I've got in my mind of how that's going to look, I think that's going to be a really lovely space to sit with the sun, and got nice big windows sort of overlooking the rest of the street, so I can be a nosy neighbour and see who's coming and going while I'm sitting having a cup of tea. But yeah, I think the probably the ensuite bathroom, and I think I've been lucky enough to live in some lovely houses, but this is probably my favourite one that I've ever lived in. So I don't think there's anywhere from another property that I would be like, oh no, that's my favourite room.
I think that every episode that I've recorded so far, people have talked about the light in their house and how much that impacts a space. And
Mm.
I remember when we were really young and we were house hunting, my parents were looking for the next home. They'd had my little brother, so we needed more space. And they asked so much about like, where is it north facing? Is it south facing? Is it where's the light going to be? And I never understood why and that even mattered because I was like, you just whack a lamp on. But now knowing how much like there's a space in our living room where we've put in a window seat in the bay window. And um during lockdown, that was one of my favorite places to sit. It wasn't necessarily particularly warm, especially in the winter, it's quite chilly. But I would just wrap myself up in a blanket and, like you say, sit with a cup of tea and just watch the world go by. And there's some, I mean, I love people watching anyway. When I'm sat in a coffee shop, I've got to be sat where there's a good space for people watching. But yeah, and now I really love like clearing off that window seat and sometimes that'll be where I sit and do a jigsaw or something like that because it's just really lovely light. Like you say, you watch the world go by, but having that natural light in your house makes so much difference, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
that's something that like as an interior designer, I guess you can make the most of that, but you
Yeah, I
can't
mean
create it.
you can't necessarily create it unless you're going to get structural and start adding new windows in where you didn't have them before. But no, I absolutely agree. I mean, I grew up in a house that was a 1960s build, so it had those typical big windows, and then the last house that we owned was a 1970s build, so that had the same sort of really big windows. The house I'm in now is a modern house. It was built in the early 2000s, but it's in the conservation area of the village, so it's built in the style of the old Georgian townhouses. So we have sash windows and things like that. Um, and I noticed when we moved the difference in light coming from that 1970s house with massive windows in every room to somewhere where the windows were much smaller. And that's something that I really missed about the old house, really. But yeah, there's lots of tricks and tips you can use to try and make windows look bigger, and the types of window treatments you choose to control the light as well can really make a big difference. And I think just celebrating windows and views as much as possible. So the way that you decorate the room, the way that you plan your layout, you can if you really kind of create a feature of a window, it can make it feel more light because you're drawn to looking at it. But bay windows are just the best, aren't they? I think we've got one at the back of our house, which is quite unusual to have one there. Um, but I can sit in that, and because I've got windows all around me, I feel like I'm sat in the garden, but I'm not. So yeah, I think bay windows absolutely need window seats or some sort of seating in them because they're just so lovely to just have this being surrounded by glass and all the light there and the views and that just feeling of being outdoors when you're indoors.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my favorite features of the house, I think. And it really, like, so much light comes in that window that we quite often we could do with getting some blinds, to be honest. We quite often have to shut one of the curtains because it's blinding
Mm,
us if we're sat in a particular spot of the living room. But it's in the winter and especially when it's cold like it is today, it's so nice to get that natural light coming in through the
mm,
window and it has that it has a natural warmth about it anyway, but also when you get that natural light in, even if it is cold, it feels warmer.
yeah.
It
And
completely
it's
changes the tone of the space.
it's really important for your health and well-being as well to get exposure to natural light. So obviously I use my nursing background to inform my approach to design and your sleep pattern, your sleep cycle is dependent on you getting exposure to natural light in the mornings, and just your general health and well-being. So throwing the curtains wide open on a morning, letting the light in is really good for you, even if you don't go out. And if you have people that are housebound, maybe if they're elderly and they don't have good mobility to be getting out and about. Just having a chair next to the window and getting some natural light is really beneficial. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think if I was house hunting again, because when we bought this house, I hadn't career changed yet, so I had a passion for design, but I certainly didn't know as much as I do now, having done all my studies and everything. But yeah, I think windows and light and direction of light would be a really important thing if I was buying a house now.
Where's your happy place?
So my happy place is the seaside, being by the sea, being on a beach. I grew up in a coastal town. I didn't really, I guess I took the beach for granted because I'd always lived near the beach. And then I went to university in Birmingham, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so miles inland here. And then eventually settled in Leeds. So I love where we live now, but I always say if I could just pull the coast a little bit closer, I'd really love that. But yeah, I do try to get to the beach as much as I can. Like taking the dog loves the beach, so I love taking the dog for beach walks. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. So whenever I visit them, I usually head down to the beach for a bit of a walk as well. So yeah, I set myself a challenge last year to try and see the sea in every month of the year. I think I didn't quite manage it, but I definitely saw the sea more than 12 times. I think some months I saw it more than once. Some months I didn't manage it, but yeah, it's something I want to carry on with. I think there's just something about standing on a beach and looking out to sea and watching the waves, and it just has a sense of freedom and space, and like I feel like I can really breathe when I'm there. So yeah, it's definitely my happy place is by the sea.
I actually went to university in Edgehill, which is not far away from Southport at
Oh
all.
yeah.
So we used to quite regularly nip over to Southport on a weekend and just go on the pier, go for a little wander, have chips and watch the sea. Um, and before that, I only really ever went to the beach in Wales, I think, for the most part, when we went on holiday. But I do feel very lucky now that we live in Newcastle, that we are only
Mm,
about 10 minutes away from the beach. And I think, as much as my daughter loves it, I think she, like you, is very much in that sort of space where she doesn't really um, know how lucky she is to live so close
yeah.
to it and to have that access to it. And I think later on in her life, when, chances are she might move further away from the coast, I think she'll sort of be pulled back again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is it's like a meditation, isn't it? Going to the beach.
Yeah, and probably my favorite time to be at the beach is on a really blustery cold day, just wrapped up, feeling that strong sea wind coming in off the coast. But yeah, it was really when I had my own children, it really sort of hit home to me because I thought, how much would I love to pick them up from school and then go straight down the beach and have the picnic on the beach for tea. And it was like, and how much would they love that? Um, but yeah, they all, I think they all love the beach as well because they've been regularly, because of me. But yeah, I sort of think about where I grew up and how lucky we were to just have it on our doorstep. Really nice.
Yeah, there's definitely days when my husband takes one look at me and turns to my daughter and says, "Your mum needs to go to the beach today. Let's jump in the car." Because he just knows that like if I'm in a real funk or if stuff just is not flowing for me, that an hour at the beach will just sort of, and like you say, it could be the windiest day and actually it's still glorious at the beach because you
Mm,
just watch all those waves crashing, and it's nice to go somewhere like the coast and feel small sometimes, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah,
And you
and
sort
just
of,
getting that. being a bit windswept and yeah, just I think it just feels like when people say that term of that blowing away the cobwebs, I think there's nothing quite like being on a northern English beach in the winter for blowing away the cobwebs.
What would your dream home be like? And no doubt, because you have all of these plans in your head for the home that you're in now, you've sort of thought about it quite a lot. But like, is there a particular setting? Are there like special spaces and rooms that you've imagined for this dream space?
Um, I think I I love all sorts of different types of architecture, but I think the thing that really stands out for me is mid-century design. So I think I love those like mid-century villa type um buildings that I think you see a lot of them in Scandinavia, like a proper like almost like a mansion, but they're not. They're just like a big split level, massive big square windows. I think a lot of people can find them quite ugly because they're quite boxy, but I really like those. Probably because of the light. But in terms of rooms that I'd like to have in a dream property, I think a library would be really lovely. Just a lovely room where there's books and there's somewhere nice to sit, um, and there's maybe something to play music on, but no TV, no screens, just peace and quiet. And a kitchen. I think, kitchens are really like the hearts of our homes now, aren't they?
Yeah.
That sort of kitchen dining space where the family can gather, where you can cook together, eat together, chat together. So yeah, just having a really nice sociable kitchen that's very well designed and you've got everything you need nearby.
That sounds lovely. Yeah. I love that the light is coming in again and that how do you feel about because when I imagine a library in a home, I imagine like the wing back chairs and like
Mm.
quite dark wood and cozy sort of autumnal colours. Is that what you see, or would yours be I guess I sound like I'm living in a Sherlock movie when I say
I
that.
I
But
think
you know what I
that's
mean?
kind of what I picture as a library as well. But I think that you could have a library that has beautiful light in it as well. I think, how about a bay window with a window seat in your library?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just think just a lovely room that is free of screens and it's about quiet relaxation, reading or listening to music. Um, yeah, somewhere like that, I think.
Yeah, I do like having spaces in the home that are screen free. I'm the only person in my house that does. But yeah, I think it's important to have a space where you can, like you say, sit and feel peaceful, maybe have a bit of music on, but we're bombarded with so much on screens. It's nice to switch off and go analog for a little bit.
When I walk my dog, don't I don't plug in. I just walk the dog in the woods in the and um I'm sometimes I'm kind of trying to be quite mindful and I'll like actively listen to what can I hear? Can I hear birds or things? But yeah, I think often it's just like being alone with my own thoughts really. And just I quite often have quite creative ideas or just think things through. But yeah, for me, I have spent periods of time where I'd plug in a podcast every time I walk the dog, but I think now I consciously don't. I'm like, no, I'm gonna, and I go to the gym as well, and I don't plug in at the gym either. I just do my thing, and I think sometimes, as much as I love music and I love listening to podcasts and I love books, um, sometimes it's nice to just allow my brain to go where it wants to go, um, and daydream a bit.
There's a business friend of mine called Amy Purdy who does branding and design and stuff like that. And I've seen her talk about a number of times how important it is for creatives to have quiet thinking time. Creative people talking about how daydreaming is really important part of their process. And I just used to think that when I sat and daydreamed, I was kind of being unfocused or I don't know, lazy because that wasn't like what productivity typically looked like. But actually, the older I get and the more I think about it, I do need that time to sort of just sit and let my brain wander, or whether it's like you say, whether it's going for a walk and just, you know, seeing where your brain goes. I guess it's like for some people who say like their best ideas come to them in the shower or whatever, when you're
Mm.
not distracted by the sort of noise of the outside world and you're doing something kind of mundane, that's when
Yeah,
some things just sort of hit you, don't they?
yeah, and I think I quite like a mundane task as well. I ha I like painting and decorating. Obviously, what's a surprise? But if I'm doing some painting, if I'm painting a wall, I I usually have music on in the background. But yeah, like just so much thinking time, just painting a wall, and you're not particularly having to think about what you're doing. Particularly once you've got your edges done and you've done the tricky bit, you're just filling in. It's just like, or other mindless tasks that you might do, like stuffing envelopes, or I don't know. There's so many things that you can do that you can almost do it on autopilot. You don't have to really think about it, and then that allows your brain the space to do other things. And then when I've when I've painted rooms and I've always had like a radio or some sort of music playing in the background, then how music and memory is really connected. And so I'll hear a song and I'll be like, oh, that was playing when I painted that room. It's like just make that little link.
I think it's a Hosier song. When I hear that song, it reminds me of when I was upcycling the dining room chairs. Every time takes me back there. And I must have heard it so many times in other situations, but it automatically takes me back to that space, like surrounded by chaos and horrendous carpets underneath before we rip them up and everything. But yeah, downstairs in the dining room in this house, painting those chairs is where I go back to. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's something about because there is like lots of proven links around memory and music and sound.
Mm.
But maybe it's something about being creative at the same time that really kind of anchors it. Because, like you say, you'll have heard the song so many times in other situations. But isn't it funny how we very specifically went to, yeah, when I was painting this or
Um, I always finish the podcast with some quick fire questions. There are six. I'll whiz through them and just whatever your gut instinct is, shout them out. Okay, so here go the quick fire questions. First one is classic or modern,
ooh, classic.
maximalist or minimalist,
Oh, can I say middle list? I think I'm definitely not a maximalist. However, I think too minimalist where there's just nothing and bare surfaces doesn't feel homely. Like we were saying earlier about having all those little trinkets and treasures around. So I think somewhere in the middle where you've got a few carefully curated items without it being too much is where I sit on that one.
Yeah, minimalism for me feels like some sort of medical space. It's yeah,
Clinical.
very clinical. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. I just can't relax in that space. Next one, country or city?
Country.
Swimming pool or games room?
Oh, swimming pool.
Chef or cleaner?
Oh, probably chef. I
And
do I do have a cleaner now and I don't have a chef, but if I could swap, I don't know. I think I could cope with cleaning more than I can cope with cooking. I just having to be the decision maker about food with 4 children. Oh, yeah, chef.
yeah, and I guess when you've got like I only have one child, so it's not as much of an issue. But I know from growing up that with multiple children who all have their own little quirks and isms about food, you end up making
Absolutely.
like multiple different versions of the same meal. So a chef would certainly probably cope with that. And the last one is following trends or following instincts.
Oh, following instincts every time. I think trends come and go, and I think it's really about being true to yourself. So you might see a trend and think, I really like that, and that's fine, and you can go with that because you really like it. But I think when people follow trends because that's what's in and that's what they feel they're supposed to do, what's the point? And I also think that from a sustainability point of view as well, we've got to try and think long term about our homes and about how we design. So I think going for something that's going to stand the test of time that you really love and you'll always love it, rather than going with trends is definitely the way I go about things.
Yeah. I think I am not a follower of trends at all. And when I'm writing the Curated Nest magazine, I steer clear from trends and things, and it's much more about, real people, real homes, how they sort of curate their artwork in those spaces. Um, I think like we're always going to have trends because that is how commercial business works. And I think to a certain degree, for people who struggle to visualize, which I have never been one, but if you are a person who struggles to visualize like color combinations and things like that, I think seeing some trends can help you from an imaginative point of view in that sort of case. But I think, yeah, I would never want to like the whole magazine cut and paste thing. I would never want to see a trend and like replicate that completely in my home
Yeah.
because like we said at the beginning, it's not got your personality, it's not got your memories in it.
Yeah, and I think as well as that, certainly from an interior design perspective, it's it's every building is unique. So if you take one room that you might see on Instagram or in a magazine in a completely different house, in a completely different place, like it's not going to have the same features, the same proportions, the same amount of light or direction of light. So, and the same color can look completely different in different types of light. So you could see somebody's room on Instagram and say, "Oh, what color paint have you used there?" And then you paint your room and it looks completely different because it's not the same room, and also that could be influenced by the other piece of the furniture that you have in the room and the way that colors interact together. And so it's so hard to emulate something. Um, and I don't think it's very easy to pull off successfully. So you're much better off looking at like definitely take inspiration and definitely think, oh, I like the combination of colors that they've used there, or I like that shape of sofa, or whatever it is. Definitely take inspiration, but you have to look at your room, your home, the way light works in it, the size, who uses it, how many different uses a room has, because you might have a living space that's a TV room, a homework room, a workspace, so you've got to really think about how you live, which is going to be very personal to you and your family and your home, and then design your space around that. So to pluck something from a magazine or the internet and say, yeah, we'll have that is quite tricky to do, really.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me today. It has been really, really lovely to delve into how you create and talk about the individuality of homes, because I think that for me is a really important point. It is all about, and this is what's come through from all the other episodes that I've done, that we all have a completely different, like you say, way of using our homes and different set of memories. And yeah, I'm just really nosy, so it's always really lovely to chat to someone else about their home and their happy place. If anyone wants to come find out more about you and how to work with you, where can they find you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. So I'm at Nest and Flourish. It's Nest _and_flourish. And also my website is nestandflourish.co.uk. Um, but yeah, I work with people throughout Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, and sort of a little bit further afield for in-person design. But I also have a range of services online as well. So particularly anybody who has particular health needs, disabilities, neurodivergence, or is just generally interested in creating a home, maybe for aging in place or just to enhance the long-term health and well-being.
Fabulous. Well, I will pop all of your links down in the show notes so people can either click through or they can type that in and can find you on Instagram and have a look at all your beautiful spaces that you've created. Yeah, thank you so much for being on with us today. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been lovely. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Kim just as much as I did. If you want to check out any of the other episodes, then head back to the homepage and hit subscribe so that you don't miss out in the future. Leave me a comment as well. I'd love to know what you're thinking of our chats.